I think that a really, really important tool is to like just give people autonomy in their own learning. And I think that we don't really have to look so far, meaning the model of a Beit Midrash is to me still the most salient model of what it means to become a lifelong learner. It doesn't solve the problem. Somebody still has to figure out how to carve out that time when they no longer are in a setting that makes it easily available. But we definitely can like start toning that muscle, right? By giving students in high school, boys and girls, of course, a Beit Midrash setting, a being able to come in, a setting where they choose, right? Where they choose what to learn, they could choose where to go. It's really good training for what they're going to have to do later when they're going to have to make choices and they're going to have to figure out, do I go to this exercise class or am I going to make time for my learning, right? Or like to figure out how to do that, to have them have charuta learning. I think that to me is a tool that's so obvious. And sometimes it gets relegated a little bit too extremely to like a later setting. Or I'll say more than that. Sometimes in some schools, it still gets relegated to the boys only and not to the girls. Again, this is so variant depending on the school setting and what their hashkafa is like regarding these pieces.
Hmm.
So to me, I think that that's critical is just being able to have a space where students are autonomous in their own learning. That's like a first go for me. What do you think about that?
So I love that, and it's interesting because in the past and on this podcast and elsewhere, we've talked about the idea of student-centered learning or active learning. And when we talk about it, we often talk about it from an educational philosophy perspective of how to build the best class, how to really, develop the best experience in that moment. But what you're saying is that actually is impactful forever. Right. And sometimes we sort of set up this false balance of, well, I need to get through a certain amount of material with them, right? I need to get through a certain amount of pages of Gemara or Psukim or whatever it is. And therefore, I, as a teacher, need to teach frontally more because we've got to cover stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and often that's seen as more rigorous than letting kids learn on their own. And what you're throwing out there is, well, yeah, maybe you're covering more stuff, but if you want to talk rigor in terms of learning muscle development, then there is no substitute for kids actually doing that.